Hello everyone, MC Tammer here with a video tutorial on how to make NIF-Bashed armor and outfits for Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas. What I'm going to show you today is how to take bits and pieces from existing armors and outfits from the game and combine them together to make a new, unique wearable item, and then how to use the GECK to bring that into the game. Now, before we begin, I should warn you that making armor is a lot more complicated than making weapons or clutter or static objects, because armor needs to be rigged to a skeleton. Now, what that means is that every vertex in the mesh needs to be assigned to a bone in the skeleton so that the game knows how to move, stretch, and distort the mesh when the character wearing it moves. So, for instance, if the character raises his right arm, the game needs to know which vertices are considered to be part of that arm and which ones aren't. So, full disclosure, this is still something I struggle with myself, but by using pieces from existing armors, instead of trying to incorporate pieces that aren't already rigged to a skeleton, we can minimize the amount of rigging we need to do. So, to follow along with this tutorial, you'll need to download and install several tools. I already covered this in detail in my NIF-Bashed weapons tutorial, so I'm not going to go over it again here. But long story short, you're going to need Blender, Python, NifSkope, the GECK, FNVEdit, or FO3Edit if you're making stuff for Fallout 3, and some sort of utility to extract files from Bethesda archives. Now, all the links for these are going to be in the video description below, and if you want more detail about what they all do, you can check out my NIF-Bashed weapons tutorial. So, what I'm thinking of doing today is taking the jeans from the Memphis Kid outfit and adding the sneakers from the Vault utility jumpsuit, the torso from the chained prostitute outfit, and the armored vest from the Vault security armor. And I'm also going to be adding the left arm from the Remnant's power armor, which may seem like an odd choice, but it'll make sense, I promise you. This mix of armors should give me a good sampling of all the techniques that I use when making armor, and I can do it all in one mesh to streamline the process for you. So first, what we need to do is extract the meshes that we want to use from the game's archive. So fire up your archive extraction utility and open up Fallout meshes.bsa. And actually, before we extract our donor meshes, one thing I'd highly recommend is extracting the skeleton. This will give us a starting point to assemble our armor mesh, since I prefer to do it in NifSkope by copying and pasting the pieces that I separate from the donor meshes. So, okay, so this is the one we want. It's located in meshes/characters/_male/skeleton.nif. So highlight this and click extract. And I have a working folder here that I made specifically for this tutorial, so I'm going to extract it there. And now we repeat the same process for all the donor meshes that we want to use. Okay, so I've gone ahead and extracted all of the donor meshes off camera. And so now we can close out of this, and we can fire up Blender and start working. Now, I've already gone over the basics of Blender in my NIF-Bashed weapons tutorial, so I'm not going to retread that ground here. I just want to keep things moving along. But if you want a more detailed and basic tutorial on how to use Blender, like what the keyboard shortcuts are, how to move the camera, and things like that, check out my NIF-Bashed weapons tutorial. What we're going to do now is import our meshes one by one and separate out the pieces that we want. So these are the import settings that I use. I find they're working well for me. If you want to pause the video and take a screenshot, go ahead. So from this mesh, what I want are the jeans. So I'm going to enter edit mode and isolate the jeans, and then separate them into their own subsection by pressing P and then clicking Separate Selected. So now, when I exit edit mode, I can edit these the jeans independently of the rest of the body. Now I'm going to export this mesh as a parted out mesh and do the same thing for all of the other ones so that I can do the final assembly in NifSkope. And these are the export settings that I use. Again, if you want to pause the video and take a screenshot, go for it. So let's take a look at it in NifSkope. You'll now notice that the jeans can be selected independently. So now let's do the same thing for all the other pieces that we want. Okay, so in this case, the torso is already a separate piece, so we can leave this be. Okay, so let's do the sneakers next. Again, just press P and separate selected. Okay, we'll check it out in NifSkope, and now the shoes can be separated, can be selected by themselves. And now let's do the vest. Now, unfortunately, it looks as though the vest is not its own separate piece. It's been linked together with all of the faces from the jumpsuit as well. So we're going to have to separate these manually. So basically, we're going to have to highlight all the faces that are not part of the vest and hide them. Okay, I think that's everything. So now what we can do is select all of these, press P, and separate that selection. And then unhide the other vertices, and then export. check it out in NifSkope. And that looks pretty good to me. Okay, and now we will grab the arm from the power armor. Okay, now I want this this inner pauldron, so I'm going to have to separate that. And everything else seems okay. Oops. Excellent. Okay, so that's it for Blender for the time being. We can close that. And then now we can start assembly in NifSkope. So we open our skeleton first. And it looks blank, but if you click the nodes button here, you'll see that it's got all of the bones to be rigged to. And then now all we have to do is load up each of our parted out meshes and copy the part that we want. So I guess I'll start from the bottom up. Want the shoes. The latest version of NifSkope, what I like is that it preserves the name of the node. Before, it used to just recycle names from nodes that were already in the mesh, but now you can name this whatever you like before you copy it into the NIF, and it will preserve that name. So what I'm going to do here is change this to upper body shoes, and when a node begins with the name upper body, it will not show up in first person. So if your armor has, like, for instance, a scarf or something, or big pauldrons, and you find that when you're wearing it in the game, it you can see it when you're in first person view, it kind of clips in and out of view. It's probably because it was not named beginning with upper body. So anything that you don't want to show up, so basically anything except for the arms and the hands, it's a good idea to name it upper body, colon, and then whatever that thing happens to be. So in this case, it's upper body, colon, shoes. And then we right click, block, copy branch, navigate over to the skeleton, right click on the BS fade node, block, paste branch, and our shoes appear. Close this. Now for the pants. So here, same thing. I'm going to rename it to upper body pants. Block, copy branch. Right click on the fade node. Block, paste branch. Now, you'll notice there's a bit of clipping here. We're going to fix this later in Blender. Right now, this is just the rough assembly. Close this. Okay, we want the torso. So, in this case, because the torso and the arms are all part of the same piece, we still want the arms to show up, because otherwise your gun is going to look like it's floating in midair without anything holding it, and it's going to be weird. So I'm going to call this this node arms. Copy branch. Paste branch. Close that. And then this one I'm going to call upper body armor. Copy branch. Paste branch. So I'll call this one upper body pauldron left. And then here is the reason I wanted to use the power armor arm, because this mesh does not have anything here on this arm, so it won't obstruct the Pip-Boy. But what do you do if you have this thick vambrace here, which would clip into the Pip-Boy if the player is wearing this armor? How the game handles this is by having two different nodes. One is named Pip-Boy on, and the other one is named Pip-Boy off. And basically, if the NPC who is wearing the armor does not have a Pip-Boy, it will render the Pip-Boy off variant. Whereas if the person wearing the armor does have a Pip-Boy, they will render the Pip-Boy on variant. So I'm going to copy this one first so you can see what it looks like. Actually, I'm going to rename this because I don't like how it's lowercase letters. Copy branch. Paste branch. So now you'll see how basically for the Pip-Boy on, all they've done is, because you're never going to see it underneath the Pip-Boy, all they've done is squeeze the vertices together so that they just, it doesn't even look natural, but it doesn't matter because you'll never see it. It's hidden under the Pip-Boy, so you can do this with any mesh that you want. Just squeeze the vertices, shrink them so that they don't clip into the Pip-Boy, and nobody will be the wiser. Copy branch. Paste branch. So this is what it's going to look like if the NPC who's wearing the armor does not have a Pip-Boy. And it looks like I forgot to separate the two arms from one another. So I'm going to have to go back into Blender and do that now. Okay, so I can hide the ones that I'm not interested in. And here you can see what they've done with the Pip-Boy on version. They've basically just squished all of these vertices into a little cone that will not clip into the Pip-Boy, and you'll never see it because it's hidden under the Pip-Boy, so you can get away with stuff like this. Separate selected. And I should probably do this as well, even though I've already copied it into the mesh. Doesn't hurt to be thorough. Oops. Okay, so arms, power armor, copy branch, paste branch. So this is going to be roughly what our armor looks like. And now what we can do is copy the Gore Caps. Basically what the Gore Caps are the little bloody looking stumps that show up when you dismember an NPC wearing the armor. So in our case, I'm going to do the neck and the head caps first. So we can just copy these directly. And the arms and legs, I think actually I'm going to save those for later. What I want to do first is kind of finalize this mesh, get rid of all the clipping, clean it up, and then we can worry about the Gore Caps for the arms and the legs. So what we're going to do is save this as a new mesh. And then import this into Blender. So there's a lot of superfluous stuff here that we don't really need. Like these kind of little cylinders and things. We don't need these. We can delete them, but if you don't, it doesn't really do any harm. I just find they're kind of awkward to maneuver around, so I'm just going to delete them. And we don't need this bounding box either. So, first things first, I'm going to fix the shoes. And one trick that I like to do is switch to vertex mode. Select these vertices and then scale them by pressing the S key. Scale them to about 85%. Might need to be a bit smaller actually, so let's see. 0.75, there we go. and then they'll be hidden inside the jeans. Do the same for the other shoe. And you can't see them poking out of the jeans now. Maybe what I'm going to do is edit this vertex here. Just move it backwards so they're not clipping through the jeans in the front. And that looks pretty good. And then now I have to edit the pants. As we can see, there's a bit of a gap here between the torso and the pants. Actually, I'm going to hide the vest so I can see what I'm doing. Oh, here's another one of those cylinders. Delete that. Deselect these vertices, and then now I'm just going to scooch this up a little bit until you can't see the gap in the torso anymore. Unhide the vest and see how it looks. Okay, we're going to have to edit the vest now. And just bring these little straps here out a little bit so they're not sunken into the pants. They don't have to be perfect. It just do what you can to reduce the amount of clipping. Alright, that looks acceptable. Now for the other side. And if you find that the camera is not rotating around the point that you want it to rotate around, what you can do is select the vertices that you want to be your rotation point and press the numpad period. And what that'll do is center your view on the vertices that you have selected. Okay, I think that's looking pretty good. And now, some of the skin was poking through in the back here. So, but instead of editing the vest, what I'm going to do is actually edit the torso itself and just push these vertices in, basically. Like so. You just highlight them. Because they're hidden under the vest, nobody's going to see that these look a little bit weird, but now they're not, at least they're not poking through the back of the vest anymore. And since we have the power armor arm, we don't need the skin arm underneath here. So actually we can just go ahead and delete these vertices or faces. I'm going to switch to face mode actually, because it's going to be easier to work with. Actually, maybe I should hide this so I can see what I'm doing. Okay, so delete those. And I'm just going to check to see that, okay, so just wanted to make sure that the seam will be hidden. And another trick that I like to use is to select these vertices and then use Alt-M and merge these vertices at the center, which will close off the mesh and not leave a gaping hole. And I think I might do the same thing for this little bit here. Again, Alt-M and merge at center. And you can move this around a bit if you want to get rid of this gap. Alright, that's looking pretty good. So now select all of the objects in the scene and export as a new NIF. Okay, so I'm not quite sure why that error is happening, but one thing we can do is hide. Oops. We can hide all of the pieces that we want to keep. And then delete everything else and unhide just the piece that we want to keep, because we don't have to worry about deleting the bones in this case, because when you export it from Blender, every piece that has been assigned to a bone, Blender will automatically export that bone for us. So even if we deleted that skeleton, it should still work. So let me try this again. And then now load it up in NifSkope. Looks okay. Let's brighten it up a bit so we can actually see. And as you can see, all the bones are still present in the NIF. So even though we deleted that skeleton, it's still exported the bones properly. It should work in the game just fine. And oh, there's a. So I'm just going to go back into Blender here and just fix that real quick. Re-export. Okay, so now we can look into doing the Gore Caps for the arms and legs. And for that, we're going to need to load up our the two meshes that make up the arms and legs. So in this case, it's the chained prostitute outfit and the Memphis Kid outfit. I'm going to start with the legs first. So in that case, we want the Memphis Kid outfit. So these are the parts we want. If it's hard to see, you can just delete whatever you don't want. So like the arms and the legs. And in this case, we already have the head and the neck Gore Caps, so we can delete these. And we want to separate these from the arms because we're using different arms. These ones are not gonna fit our mesh as well. So enter edit mode and then just highlight all the faces that make up the arm Gore Caps and delete them. Hide that. Enter edit mode. Delete. And now we're just left with the legs. Select everything in the scene and export as a new NIF. Gore Caps, male, legs. And now I'm not sure if it really matters if you choose skin instead of cloth. I don't know if it really makes all that much of a difference, but I do it anyway, just in case. Okay, so those are our leg Gore Caps. And now the arms are going to be a little bit different because we need to have the left arm taken from the power armor and the right arm taken from the bare torso. So we're going to have to load both of those meshes individually. Let's start with the bare torso. Okay, so delete that, delete that, delete that. Now we want this arm, so everything else can go. Unhide everything, select all the objects in the scene, and export. Arm right. Okay, now for the power armor. Okay, just going to delete some of this stuff so I can actually see what I'm doing. And we want this arm. File, export, arm left. Perfect. Okay, so what we're going to do now is copy all of these into the skeleton, so that we can import it into Blender and then merge them all together into a single mesh for the bodies and for the limb caps. So open up the blank skeleton mesh, and okay, I'm going to start with the legs. Copy branch. Actually, I should name these so I can see what I'm doing. Legs. Copy branch. Paste branch. Copy branch. Paste branch. Close that. What is this one? Left arm. Close that. Copy branch. Paste branch. Copy branch. Paste branch. Now, in order to get these things to merge properly, when we do that in Blender, what we need to do is first delete the NI material property subnode in each of these nodes. So just right click and remove branch. Because what happens is, in order to get them to merge properly, the NI material property has to be identical for all the pieces that you want to merge. So by deleting it, we get rid of any irregularities between them, and then what we do is copy the NI material properties branch from any of the of the other Gore Caps and then paste it into all of these so that they're all identical. And then now we can save this as a new NIF. And then import this into Blender. So we want to select all of the body caps. So here we see meat cap body. Okay, so we want these two, and let's see, yeah, okay, so body, legs, and then when we have all of these selected, press Control J to join, and it'll ask, you know, do you want to join the selected message? You say yes. So now we can edit them all at the same time instead of having to click on each one individually. So we can hide these and then do the same thing for the limb caps. Control J, join, unhide the other ones, and now we can export this . And if we did it properly, when we open it in NifSkope, they should all be in the same node. So let's see if that worked. Nice. So now before I copy this back into our working shell, I'm going to rename these. So don't need that. Meat cap limbs. And then meat cap body. Copy branch. Paste branch. Copy branch. Paste branch. Okay, so now we can save this. And I'm going to bring this back into Blender one more time because the material for the neck and head caps may not be the same as these ones. And one thing that Blender does is when you export it, it will automatically kind of use the same materials for similar nodes so that it saves space in the final mesh. So I'm going to bring this back into Blender. And then just simply re-export it. No, I wanted that one. And then, okay, we want cloth. Change it back to cloth. Check it out in NifSkope, and it looks good to me. And then now we can move on to making sure that the blood spray decals work. So what the blood spray decals are is basically when you hit or shoot a character in the game, it's supposed to display that bloody hit spray where you hit them. And that only works if the NIF has been arranged properly. Only the first 3 children in this list, in this block list, will display the hit decals. So anything 4 and below, it won't work. So we need to make sure that the parts of the mesh that should display blood, for instance, the skin and the pants and maybe the vest, we have to make sure that those are listed in the slots 1, 2, and 3, or else the blood display is not going to work. So what I like to do is open up Notepad and write down all of the numbers here. So 1, 10, 18, 25, 32, 39, 46, 53, 60, 67, 74, and 81. And then now what I can do is just rearrange these numbers to be in the correct order. Now the 3 children that you need to have to display the blood decal should be first, and then the meat caps have to be last, and in a very specific order. It has to be meat caps body, meat caps limbs, then the neck body, and then neck head. So I usually start with that first. So meat cap body is 53. Meat cap limbs is 81. Neck body is 18. And then neck head is 1. And then now I can start moving the blood decal children that I want to display. So let's see, upper body, okay, I think it was called arms. So it's 46. And then upper body pants, 60. And let's see, the armor. Yeah, because the power armor one is metal. That probably wouldn't show blood. Okay, so let's go with the armor. All 3 will display blood sprays. The first 3 will always display the blood decals, whether you want them to or not. So that means like armor, you would think would prevent a bullet from going through and therefore should not spray blood. But in this case, we kind of have to, because the first 3 always get used to display the decals. So I'm just going to use this one. And then these other ones we can arrange however we like. The order doesn't really matter, but I'm OCD, so I'm going to put the shoes at the bottom. 10 is the Pip-Boy. Okay, so 6, let's do Pip-Boy on, Pip-Boy off, arms, power armor, that will go here, and the pauldron, maybe that one can go, yeah, that should go like that. I usually like to arrange it so that it's from head to toe, so top down. Although it doesn't really matter, so you can do it however you like. And then now, when I have these arranged in the order that I want, you just double click on this and start entering the numbers in that order. So 46, 60, 39, 74, 25, 67, 10, 32, 53, 81, 18, and 1. And then what we do is go to Spells, Sanitize, Reorder Blocks. And now, as you can see, they have been rearranged in our specified order. So arms, pants, armor, pauldron, the upper arm, the forearm, shoes, and then meat caps, body, limbs, neck, head. So I'm going to save this as a new NIF. And then that will take care of the blood sprays. Now what we can do is edit the skin tone to make sure it changes with the race that the player chooses. So in this case, what we do is go to the arms node and click on the BS shader PP lighting property subnode. And under shader type here, double click and change it to shader skin. And then here for shader flags, double click and check the face gen flag. And what that's going to do is have the game check what race the player is playing as, and then change the skin tone accordingly. Also, we should change the alpha property for the Gore Caps and anything with transparency. For the Gore Caps, what it should be is 4844, and the threshold should be 128. And now you can see all these properties were merged by Blender, which is why I exported it a second time. So now they're sharing these properties. So when I change it for the net caps, when you check on all the other ones, it shares the same property, so you don't have to do it individually. But now you see that the blood cap looks more natural without that kind of transparent film around the edges. So we can save this. And lastly, what we want to do is stripify all the TriShapes. So to do that, you go to Spells, Optimize, Stripify all TriShapes, and then it'll work for a little bit, and you'll notice that it kind of got a little bit duller. So then now we go to Spells, Batch, Update all tangent spaces. And then now we save this and load it one more time just to double check, make sure all the nodes are in the right order. Okay, arms, pants, okay, so far so good. Double check the shader flags, okay, skin and face gen has been checked. And these are all now TriStrips nodes. So that is it. Next, we're going to bring this into the GECK and bring it into the game. Okay, so let's fire up the GECK. I'm only going to be working with the base game Fallout New Vegas master. We don't need any of the DLC or anything like that. So just double click on this master until the X appears and then click OK. And once it's loaded, we can navigate to the armor subheading here. And what I usually like to do is just load up a base game armor that is similar to the stats that I want, and then just edit it from there. So what I think I'm going to use for this one is the Vault Security armor, since that is the main armor component. So double click on this, and the first thing we're going to do is change the editor ID. My custom armor. We want to do this because we don't want to accidentally click, make our changes and then accidentally click OK and then overwrite the base game armor. So here, by doing this, this is a failsafe. As soon as we click OK, it'll ask us to confirm that we want to create a new form, in which case we click yes. So now, now that that's taken care of, we can start messing around with all the stats. So, my custom armor, weight, well, it doesn't have a shirt, and it's just so I can maybe, I'm going to bring this down to maybe 12 pounds. The health determines how quickly it degrades. If you want it to be like really high, you could make it, 1,000. For me, 100 seems to work fine. AR is the armor rating, or the damage resistance. In Fallout 3, before the damage threshold DT value was added, all armor used the damage resistance, which is if I recall correctly, it's the percentage of damage that the armor ignores. So like if the AR is 10, then the armor will absorb 10% of any damage you receive. So if you get hit by a weapon that does 100 hit points of damage, instead of taking 100 hit points of damage, you will only take 90 because the armor absorbed 10% of that. New Vegas does not use AR by default, so it's usually 0, and it uses the DT damage threshold instead. So since our armor has a bare chest and doesn't cover as much, although I guess it does have the metal arm. Okay, you know what? I'll leave it at 16, and then actually I think because of the metal arm, maybe I should have just left it at 15. And then, okay, so the value is how much the default cost of the armor in caps. So when it's at 100% condition with maxed out barter skill, how much will you be able to sell the armor for? So let's say 500 for ours. It doesn't really make a difference. Depends on your personal preference, really. Object effects. This is where you can add things like it'll give you a +5 guns skill bonus or something like that. I'm gonna do that later. I just want to finish making the actual armor first. The repair item list. This is what armors can be used to repair this one. In this case, you can repair it with combat armor or anything else that can use combat armor to repair. These lists can be found under the form list subheading. So here, if you want to see, what was this one? Repair combat armor. So that means you can use the reinforced combat armor or the regular combat armor to repair our custom one. You can change this to whatever you like. If you have a list that you think would work better, then you can just change it in the drop down menu. But combat armor seems to work fine here. The biped model list. This is a list of additional add-ons that will be automatically equipped with the armor. So usually this is like gloves. For the power armor, for instance, it will also equip a backpack. For our armor, I don't want any gloves, so I'm going to set it to none. The pickup sound, put down sound, that's pretty self-explanatory. Animation sound template. It's a light armor, so these are all like default. So if you want like power if you're making a power armor, you would change it to this one so that it makes the clanking noises when the player is walking. The plastic audio template is like for the radiation suit, for instance, and it sounds like you're squeezing a balloon when you're walking. We're gonna stick with the light armor. The biped object field determines what body slot the armor takes up. So in our case, it's the upper body. If our mesh had, hands or whatever, then you could also click the hands, and then it'll render the hands from our mesh instead of the bare hands. Or like if we're making a hat, then you would say, okay, it covers the hair, so if it's a mask, then it hides the head, and then the head won't be rendered. Things like that. So in our case, for a body armor, we just want the upper body slot. And now for the actually bringing our mesh into the game, what I need to do is copy, where is it? This one. I need to copy this and then navigate to our Fallout New Vegas data folder, meshes, armor, and then you can paste it either in this folder like this, or you can make a subfolder. Like if you were going to make a female version and you want to keep them together, then you could just put them in a subfolder. Since I'm not going to bother with the female version, I'm just kind of cranking through this. I'm just going to paste it right here. And then now click Edit, Edit, and then find our file. So that's okay. And then you would do the same for the female model. Since we don't have a female model, I'm just going to leave it as this one. The world model is what the object looks like in game. I didn't bother making a world model for this armor, so I'm just going to use the default one again. And the icon image is the image that shows up in the Pip-Boy when you're on the armor tab and scrolling through all the armors in your inventory. The playable flag should be checked because we want the player to be able to use it. If it's a power armor, then you would check this flag to tell the game, okay, the player needs to have power armor training before they can wear this. And the modulates voice is that thing that where you when you're wearing a mask, like a power armor helmet or the surgical mask, and it kind of muffles your voice. That's how that's done. So if we were making a headgear, then we would click the modulates voice if it covers the mouth, and then the game will whenever an NPC is talking while wearing that mask, it will muffle their voice. So that's it for this. So we can click OK, and then it'll say, do you want to create a new object? We click yes. And now I'm going to create an enchantment or an object effect, so that our armor will convey, like, say, +5 guns or +1 strength or whatever. So you just right click you go to the object effect subheading, right click in here and click new. And for the type, right now it's set as weapon by default. We're using it for apparel. We'll add a editor ID. And a name, doesn't really matter what you call it. And then here we're going to right click in here and then click new. And from this drop down menu we can choose whatever effect we want. So let's see here. We want maybe to increase, okay, we could, let's say, increase action points. Then the magnitude is how many, so let's say increase action points by 10. So this, when we equip the armor, it will give us 10 more action points. The duration
If you want it to be indefinite, leave it at 0. Otherwise, if you change it so like say to 10 seconds, then it will only, that effect will only give you the bonus action points for 10 seconds, and then it'll take them away. So this is for things like this is more for effects, like if you want to like for instance the flamer, when you hit somebody with the flamethrower and they burn for like 5 seconds or whatever, that's what this is usually used for. So in this case, we're going to leave it at 0. Range is self. And here, for conditions, we don't need to add any, but if you want to add conditions to, for instance, to limit who this effect applies to, we can do it here. So like for instance, if you wanted to make it so that only only people with good karma can gain action points, then you would right click here and select new, and then say get actor value, and then karma, and then the comparison would say greater than 250, and this would make it so that only people, like only players or NPCs who have a karma of good or better will get this action points bonus. Then you could do it that way, as you can do it here, but we're not going to do that. So we want this effect to apply to everyone equally. And you can add as many effects as you like. So here, let's say increase. Let's say, yeah. Okay, so increase skill guns by, say, 15. So now, when you put on this armor, you will get 10 action points, and your gun skill will be increased by 15. So click OK. And then we go back to our armor. And then in this object effect drop-down list, we choose our custom effect and click OK. And I'm going to save my plugin. Now, to get it into the game world, I have a video tutorial on creating leveled lists, which you can look at if you want to make this armor able to be found, like looted from containers or bought from vendors. Or you could simply just drag and drop this into the Worldspace, which is what I'm going to do here just to demonstrate. I'm going to just put it in Goodsprings. So here I'm just going to put it in the bed of this pickup truck here. All you have to do is click and drag, and then position it wherever you want. I'm going to turn off the snap here so that I can position it more freely. Okay, and then save your plugin. And then now we can go test it in game. So that concludes this video tutorial for how to make NIF-Bashed armor and outfits for Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas. I hope this was helpful to you. If you have any questions or comments, please just leave one on my Nexus Mods mod page, or send me a private message on the Nexus forum, because I don't check YouTube comments. So thank you very much for watching, and happy modding!